Hey everyone, it's Richard Graves from the Richard Graves Group and Nighttime Entertainment. How you guys doing tonight? We have a very special guest, Mr. Tony BITOY. Many of you know Mr. BITOY from the USA Rainbo, the Riveria, the China Club. There's so many clubs I can mention, so many venues that he's done, so many artists that he's had. I don't. We could go on for. I can go on for about 20 minutes talking about that. He's done stuff throughout the country, but all of us know him as our favorite Chicago promoter, probably the most incredible promoter we've had, who showed us all. Anybody who did house parties, house music parties, well, in the suburbs when we used to rent our little halls and do our events, we based them on how Tony did his parties at the Rainbo. We went to get our flyers printed at the same places and hired a lot of the same DJs he did. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to Mr. Toy. Let me bring him on. Mr. BITOY, how are you, sir?
What's going on, Richard?
All right. First off, let me say I'm honored to have you on. I know a few months ago I had Man Parrish on, and I kind of geeked out because, that was Mr. Boogie Down Bronx and hip hop bebop and Two Sisters, B-Boys, all that stuff. And I was a break dancer. So it was incredible talking to him because of how influential his music was in my life, make me produce music and DJ music. And I kind of feel the same way about you. So I'm gonna try to be cool. All right. But
yeah, real quick before you get into it, Man Parrish, he did, I met him one time. He did the sound he was like a road manager for like RuPaul.
Really?
He came in and he was doing the sound, and I remember Mike geeking out because it was Man Parrish, and I said, "Oh man," but he was actually doing, and I did that RuPaul show at the China Club, and
wow,
Mike Hitman Wilson was my DJ, and he said, Man, yeah, I know Man Parrish, and I said, well, this is him, and he said, oh, I said, oh, but then that's how the circle is. It's everybody's into the music and in different levels and touch it in different ways. But go ahead. I don't want to distract you.
All right, but no problem. Well, I'm gonna try not to be too much of a fan and a geek because, like I said, I talked to you a little bit earlier. I was introduced to your productions from WBMX when I was 12. I think I won free tickets to the Rainbo by winning some contest one time, and I got to go up there and just had a good time. And it was amazing, being a kid from Aurora, actually going out to Chicago to the Rainbo. It was just too much, I came back talking about it, and everybody wanted to be at your parties, and I was fortunate enough. You did one party on Aurora, and Hitman allowed me to DJ, and I had a good time DJing for you. And I would come up to the Rainbo and occasionally the Riv when Mike was DJing, and occasionally I get on the tables. It was always incredible being in one of your venues mixing. I met your DJs, the Supreme DJ team with Sly Hulu Fox, rest in peace, and Charlie Chaz D. And
the original ones were Larry Amazing Thompson, Rick Lenore, and Eric the Wizard.
Now that I did know.
L&R Records, Working to the Bone, and You Can't Stop the House. They were my original Supreme DJ team.
Wow.
And they were, and I brought the other guys on when they got famous, after their record broke and they had to, Europe and touring Europe and doing those other things. So that's just another little tidbit,
wow, I didn't know.
Was out there. And that was the early stages of Rainbo, because the Rainbo started. The very first party at Rainbo was actually in 1983.
83, okay.
And every week started in 84.
Wow, man,
Yeah.
amazing.
So that was probably before your time.
Yeah, it was just at my time, just as I was becoming a break dancer and DJ. I was young though.
Yeah, I had the New York City Breakers there, and that's a whole story in itself.
You had, so I mean, I could go on, but let me ask you, how did you get into party promotions? When did this start?
That goes back.
Always been there as long as I've known, but how did it start?
Well, that goes back to honestly goes back to the whole thing with the original DJ team, Larry Amazing Thompson, which is a part of L&R, Larry and Rick. And anybody in house music know who that is. He was a kid. I was a manager at Jewel, and he was a kid. He was a cleanup kid, in the meat market. I was a produce manager, and he would always be singing and walking around spraying all the meat counters and doing that stuff at night. And I got to know him, and he goes, I'm a DJ, and I do this and I do that. And he showed me some flyers, and I looked at them, and he said, man, they make so much money. At that time, he was talking about parties at Da Vinci Manor, which was the west side, over there, or off of Central and North Avenue. And Cousin Danny and Mr. Felton, and different promotions. And I looked at the flyers, and I said, well, this is not much. I was looking at, but I'm looking at them from a marketing standpoint, because this is what I do. Because when we do advertising, profits, we have gross margins, profits. We did everything, inventories, gross margin. I had payrolls. And so I looked at everything from a business standpoint. And he said, man, they make so much money when they do these parties. So that piqued my interest. I said, how much money? He said, man, they make a lot of money. And so I said, well, how much is a lot? And so I said, well, tell me what. I tell you what, let me go to one of these parties with you. And he was DJing. So I went up to Da Vinci Manor, and I saw the room. I saw it held about a couple thousand kids or something like that, 1,500, 2,000 kids. And, it's simple math. It's $5 to $7 to get in, and a party, a few DJs. That's how much does it cost to rent the place, and how much does it cost for DJs to set up and sound and lights. And it was easy math. I said, so you're looking at about a 70% profit margin if you sell out. And I'm going, he goes, huh? He was like, well, he wasn't looking at it. He's looking at a party.
Right.
Well, I could do this. He said, oh, no, they got it locked down. They got it. I said, money talks and bullshit walks. Bottom line. So the funny thing was, I did one party at Da Vinci Manor, and that's a funny story. But what I did was, I was a roller skater, and I did skating parties, and so I was a serious roller skater, skating guard out in Maywood. Went to the Loop on the south side, everywhere, Markham roller rink and everything else. So I was doing skating parties, and they were making money. I was doing parties for also did parties for Jewel. What they said, we want to do Christmas, and really by accident, they were to do a Christmas party for the store. And I said, well, if you're going to do for a store, why don't we take all stores in the district, in our little area, put them together and do one big party. That was just how I was. And what I did was I rented out. I said, would they pay $20 to go to a party if they got open bar and Nancy's Pizza? They said, yeah. And I said, you for real? I said, I'm not a drinker. They said, yeah. And it was mostly young white kids and stuff. So it was like they were drinkers. And I sold that out. It was crazy. I said, boy, these people. And I made money. I wasn't trying to make money, but I made money. And then Larry kept talking to me about the dance parties. And like I had a relationship with them at Rainbo. I was there all the time. And that's when the Beach Street thing came out. And so I looked at it, and the Roxy in New York was a skating rink.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how aggressive I went and took a flight by myself to New York.
Wow.
Rented a Lincoln Continental, a white Lincoln, or like a white leather outfit. I was like flamboyant and stuff. And I went out there, and I wanted to see. And they had kids lined up, and it must have been a couple thousand people there. They didn't know me from Adam. I just told them I was a promoter from Chicago, and they actually put me to the front and let me in and did the whole see the place. And Jazzy J was DJ. It was. I said, wow. I said, then I looked at. I said, I could do this in Chicago, and that's when I asked them at the what's the name? Could I do a party there? And they said, well, we don't have dancing because they'll mess up the floors. And I said, what if we take all the gum away from them at the door? And they said, well, you can take your shoes. I said, no, we can't have them take their shoes off. That's just not cool. And I said, but You know, if they do any kind of damage, I pay for it. And, you know, we come to a deal. And the only reason that they did that for me, I did a skating party with Banks and Company
Mm.
on a Monday, and it was I think it was Labor Day or Memorial Day, and they let me have the place for $100 rental. They
Wow.
had one cashier and one one person working behind the counter, and I got Doug Banks to promote it on the radio. You know, because that Banks and Company hosted, come out and host it, and they started getting phone calls and getting inundated, and over 800 something skaters showed up, and they were calling in people and the managers, and they were working. And he said, "You could do this every week." I said, No, I can't do that every week, but that was just a special event. He said, "Well, how did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I just went to radio, and you just make it bigger, Christmas lights around it, and do that." I said, "But what I want to do is this thing that they're doing in New York." And they said, "Well, Saturdays are terrible for us. Saturday skating, you know, the late night." Uh, and even though we were all ages, they let me stay open to 5 in the morning
Damn.
on a Saturday night. And I came in there, and I think and at first I was doing acts. I said I brought in Roxanne Shante, and you know, mother came with her. She was 14 years old, and the kids lining up and everything. And I started doing acts and bringing people in. And then I said, "Well, can't do acts every week because it just didn't make sense." Yeah, I said, "Well, that's what I can create, promote the DJs, start talking about them, and then do acts in between and everything else." And Rainbo, you know the history. You went there,
Mm.
and that lasted up until 2009 or something. I mean not 2000. Shoot, 1989. We go 2009, 1989, and I left there only because they offered me the Riviera, because the Riviera had opened in '86. But what happens with any of those clubs? They get 3 or 4 years runs, and then they start. You know, they can't maintain a big club like that. And I said, "Man, I could go into a place." And they said, "Well, but could you do Sundays?" And then I looked at what they were doing in Europe on those. They were doing the off nights, and that's where the Sunday night came from there. You know, I used the concept that they were using in Europe, and everybody said, "We crazy. Nobody's going to come out on a Sunday night." And I said, "Well, I can try. That's all I can do." And they, you know the history of that one. And that went on great. So we were doing crazy numbers, historic numbers, and everything else. And then they got into some. The owner got into some problems with the feds over drugs and everything else.
Ooh.
And that's how I got into the China Club, because of he got. I think the owner got caught with 17 kilos of, I don't know, something buried on a farm in Florida. And when the FBI came in there, I said, "Hey, I don't know nothing. I'm just a promoter. I do parties." And so they tried to actually, well, most people don't know that the federal government, they actually operated the building just like they did Studio 54 for 4 or 5 months.
Damn.
And it was terrible. It was the water, the heaters didn't work. There was all kind of stuff. They didn't know what they were doing, and all I wanted was a place to do my stuff. And I could see this wasn't going to last under their management. And uh, unfortunately, at that time, I already had my New Year's Eve plan with CBS and the radio station, a live broadcast on the radio and TV, CBS, with Boys to Men.
Wow.
This is 92, I think it was, New Year's 92, or something like that. And I said, so I was looking for a place to do it, and I cut a deal with the China Club. China Club, what people think, oh, China Club was great, they did this. China Club opened up to that fanfare when they opened up, and then it went boom, they went to the cellar, because they were a 35,000 square foot club, and they were trying to be a VIP club only. You know, they were rude at the door and every. I said, "You got so much space in here. You can be rude when you're only trying to get 200 people. You know, you can do all of that rudeness you want." And when I went in there and I did the party, I did the event, It was hosted by Eddie and Jobo. I was producing it. Boys to Men, they were up and coming, and they had to hit, one hit on the radio, and people were there, sold out, and had the China Club had at that time had the rudest staff. It was rudest and racist. And I'll call them like I see
Oh,
them.
man.
And B96, I had a mixed crowd. I had Latin, black, and white. I have regular people. I wasn't trying to get VIP. And their money is as good as anybody else. And what they were rude to them and everything else. And what I even Michael Bivins came to the front door and they wouldn't let him in. He
Wow.
didn't have ID. Who is this guy? I don't know. All that. I had to go to the door, screaming and hollering at their security because I didn't know anybody over there. I was just doing an event, and I'm arguing with these people. And the next, I get him in, and the night goes off, and the owner is like, "Oh, we can do this and we can cut." I said, "No." I said, "I will never step foot in here again." I told him, I said, I'm out. I never. And he bugged me for 2 or 3 months. And they were starving. I mean, you got a place like this, and on a Saturday you got 200 or 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
And, the China Club was huge. It was a big place, and I said, "You guys will never survive." And then I cut a deal. What I did was I cut a deal that was so good for me. I said, "Hey, I'll take you Thursday. You got nothing. You're getting next to nothing on Thursday." You might have been doing $1,000 at the bar all night. You got bartenders up there looking like they just standing around. And in places as big as that, it was like going into Marshall Field's, a big place, and you got 8 shoppers. That's
Wow.
it. So I took over the night. I said, and I started out. First party was I brought in Right Said Fred. I went and got all the elite models. Went to Elite Models, got all the models and stuff like that. Gimmick record, packed, and everybody was, that's lucky. I'm lucky. I said, I've been doing this shit for 10 years and I'm lucky, but they don't know me, they don't know me from Adam. So, and they had Hitman DJ, and I started bringing the talent in. The same thing, RuPaul, at that time, now RuPaul gets $70,000 now. And I think I paid him, whatever. I paid him probably 3,000 or something at that time. But it was again, word, and it was like packed and going crazy and stuff like that. It brought life back to that whole area because even at that time, Shelter was falling off.
Mm-hmm.
And Thursday night was used to be their only night. And I said, and I remember telling Hitman, I said, I'm going to bring life back to this whole area. We brought life or drink came back in there, and everybody, and it turned into craziness. I mean, we did talent every week. We did everybody in there, and they actually had they had a publicity department. They had all these departments. They had the infrastructure to do stuff, and they just needed some guidance. And I told them that what I said, what you need to do here is let me do regular people, the main room. I'll get you the public. I said, let the VIP room be VIP because the owner was only seeing dollar signs. And I said, this all works if you let it work. The guy that did the Rock Room, Michael Yerke, he's like the big VP with the House of Blues running all the House of Blues in the United States. He was a young guy, and he hired all the local rock bands and other bigger name rock and alternative bands, and then jazz. And they had a lot of little things going on. They weren't big money makers, but I told them they were great for keeping a balance in the room. I said, because if you let me do the room, it'll turn into what Kaboom was. It'll be a Latin black, and then I said, but what I wanted was to keep that balance where you had Hollywood stars and sports figures and all that, and everybody pulling their own weight. The VIP room, which was ran by BJ Murray, and then these other the twins, the girls, Shar and Sharita after him. They that works. He goes, well, but he was looking at money in the bar, and there's only this and this money. And I said, no. I said, but all of that. I said, you don't understand. When I say Michael Jordan is in the building, and he was, he'd come in there. He had a little private booth and come in there, and all of the Bulls came there. And what it's going to turn into the public is they party with Michael Jordan. Now, he didn't leave the VIP room. He rarely left it, or he would walk backstage and stuff. But as long as they could tell their friends that they partied with Michael Jordan, but they might have partied with B.J. Murray and Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant, because they were like in the middle of the crowd. Yeah, Michael out there. Because I remember he looked out when I had House of Pain there, and they were stage diving. He said, "Oh Lord!" He looked at, he would turn right back around because it was a little bit too powerful. But it was probably the best time as a promoter, the most fun I had doing stuff, because we had every movie star from Sylvester Stallone to John Claude Van Damme. It was. A hitman will tell you that even, you look out on the dance floor and there's Oliver Stone in the middle of the dance floor, Bono from U2, all of that kind of stuff. I said, man, this is unreal. I liked having that because I wasn't a VIP promoter. And even to this day, they got the guys out there that do the bottle service and got the tables but I didn't do the guest list and the foo and even at the reunion you went to, if you looked at my guest list, there might have been 4 or 5 people on it. And we were sold out because I do stuff for the public. I'm not trying to snooze and booze and, all of that kind of stuff. I just do stuff. If they want it, I just bring it to them. And that's been my philosophy all along.
Let me ask you a question. You're a promoter, and I know you speak pretty frankly. I've noticed one thing about Chicago. You do have that racial element. Where there's clubs that don't.
I say racist.
Racist. All right, racist. So it's just I can always say that I never felt anywhere where you were throwing a party. We felt welcome as Blacks, Latinos, Asians, whites. Everybody was there. Everybody was enjoying themselves. Everybody was treated with respect. You're like when we were at the Nitro reunion, there were a lot of African Americans there. Mm-hmm. And you, again, this was, hey, good to see you guys. You grew up, and that says a lot, man. That probably says a lot about how you came up, because I mean, you always were able to get a diverse crowd, and it was always there were clubs we go to sometimes as Black people. I'm gonna say this, back in house days when I was a DJ, if I went on certain places. If I wanted to DJ, I wouldn't have been treated with any type of comfortability. And being even coming in as DJ, had to make it very clear I was there to DJ.
Otherwise, you probably wouldn't get in. And stuff.
No.
And it's unfortunate that was the club scene, or still is the club scene, especially downtown. Mm-hmm. There is no a lot of that, and some of this falls along the line of the promoters too, though. Mm-hmm. Because they when they say hood party, it is, but they don't check. You have to check the people. You tell them. I remember even in Nitro when it was young people, and I told them, this is not a music video. I don't care what you see on there, tear the club up and do all this, all in the music video. We don't play that. That is not what we are. And if you want to come here and meet, you guys meet girls, girls meet guys, have a good time, leave all of you. I said, I can't tell people not to be in gangs, not to do this stuff. And I did all the Mothers Against Gang promotions and had my car beat up and stoned and stuff like that. I did all of that stuff. I said, the one thing I will not tolerate, I said, I cannot tell people what to do at home. I can give you guidance I can give you my opinion and everything else. But once you're in here, this is my turf, and you treat it with respect. I do not go into your neighborhood or talking about I'm running things. I don't expect. I don't do that, and I don't expect them to come there and do the same thing. Run my customers away. You're gonna have that. You're gonna have. Unfortunately, that element is out there. I don't even try. I don't even try to deny that. But a customer, even my security guards will tell you that I'm as hard on them as I am anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
because I tell them you treat these people with respect until it's time to, kind of like that roadhouse type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling nobody to take an ass whooping, but you're not out here to kick everybody's ass that walks through the door. And I say when you treat any person, black, white, Puerto Rican, whatever, with thank you, hello, and kindness and everything else, you get that. You start barking at people, and especially grown folks, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get like, I'm a man, and then you're gonna get challenged and we'll go through that whole thing. And even at mansion at the end of the night, this one guy, one security guard. See, those weren't my security guards. I had to use, for insurance reasons, I had to use their security. A lot of my security guards just came. They
Mm-hmm.
were there just hanging out and having a good time. And the and I told, and what I was telling them, they have a thing at the end of the night, and you see this at all the clubs. Lights come on. All right, everybody, get out of here, run out the door. I'm like, dude, what the hell is that? I
Mm-hmm.
said, you don't go into a restaurant and you finish your steak dinner. You done spent your money. I said, do they cut the lights on and say, all right, get the hell out of here? I said, that's a customer. You can tell them, okay, we got to go. You can talk to people, but all that barking and yelling and flashlights in their face and everything else, no. And I didn't tolerate that with kids. I'm not going to tolerate that with grown folks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just been my philosophy from day one. You just, it's just, I mean, that's just common sense to me. You're treating people with respect. Those are customers.
You would
So,
think so. I
yeah.
will say that one of the things I picked up from you guys from coming to your events, and not just in how we did our events out in the suburbs with me and
Mhm.
Mark, or when we would throw parties out this way, or George Scott, we
Mhm.
picked up that professionalism and embracing different people. But when I
Mhm.
got into my current field of work,
Mhm.
occasionally I work off duty at some of the nightclubs downtown. Some of the rooftop bars they have,
Mhm.
our side one out in the south. And you're right. Even as off-duty law enforcement, I tell people, I never had no problems because it's always, hey, man, you enjoyed yourself. It was just talking to people normal. You
Mhm.
don't have to turn it up, to prove that you are the police or whatever. You talk
Yep.
to people normal. You had a good night. You talk about the music. You talk about the girls that were there, and you talk to people as they're walking out, and everybody's cool. Nothing
Yep.
comes up, you know. But like I said, I've seen in a lot of those, there's places I wouldn't go to that I worked at that I stopped
Mhm.
working at because I saw
Mhm.
how they were doing black people with certain Latin people, and I understand. I mean, I worked gang intelligence before. I know how to look at, okay, this is what this is. The guy's coming in with his girl, he's coming to have a good time. Normally, it's not going to be an issue as long, again, you're respectful.
Yep.
Hey, he knows where he's at. He knows how he's supposed to act. But it's just, even the music. I used to sit there, they didn't know I was a DJ. And I was like, these DJs are horrible. They're terrible. What are
Yeah.
you guys playing? And I realized I asked them, I said, why don't you play this, that, or the other thing? They're like, no, man, we can't play that here. They want
Can't
us
play that.
a
The owners.
specific type. Yeah.
Yep.
What the hell is that all about?
Well, you can't play that black music.
Yeah.
And it's common. They don't understand that it is the hottest music. It's it, you know for the, and it's been the same. It's been like this when my mom and dad were growing up in the 50s and 60s, and the same thing. And I grew up in a house full of music, but my father was old enough to be in like Korean, like during the war in Korea and that kind of stuff. He was like in the service, but he even told me the story of going down. My father was half black, half Filipino. Toy comes from the Filipino last name, so him going down to North Carolina to whatever his Air Force base, wherever he was going down there,
Mm.
and when they were on the the train or the bus. I don't know which one it was, the train or bus. But I know after a certain point, him in uniform had to get up and go to the back.
Damn.
And that was not that long ago. People
No,
that
but
was not long. I said, dude. So I grew up, and we grew up. Actually, we were probably the first people to move into Henry Horner and stuff. So I didn't grow up no affluent, nothing like that. We grew up. I didn't even know we were poor. But we were a family.
You're right.
Father was there. My father was there from day one to the day he died. Uh, what, 3 or 4 years ago? How long has it been? 4 years. Uh, uh, he was there. So I didn't have that experience of not having a father around. But I find that, I bark and stuff at the kids from Rainbow days all the way up to Nitro days, and I talk a lot of shit on the mic and everything, and get on them about huddling up, and why are you 5'8" guys? It's all these girls around here, and you huddle up with these guys, or maybe that's how you like it. And, I tease them. But I try to get them into the atmosphere of meet girls, all this tough stuff and everything else. And and I talk about gangs. I got my opinion. I said, I said, when you guys are teenagers now, but when you get in your 30s and 40s and you have kids, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm just up here talking shit, But you will see and everything. And I would tell them about the same thing about when they say, well, this is our folks, people, this is where we control this. And I said, unless you own the land, you paying real estate taxes, you don't control shit, And I told them, you want to control some stuff, buy the whole block, own some stuff, own some property, do that kind of stuff. And I know some of this, most of it went over a lot of people's head, but some of them got it. They got what I was talking about. And but I would see that, especially with the young the young black men, they didn't have a lot of them didn't have that. I can tell about the thing about not having a father figure. Somebody saying just telling them the truth about life and everything. And I remember I would go, no matter where I went, they would call me Mr. Nitro Man and stuff like that. But I never got dissed on the street, never, nothing. They were actually very nice to me all the time, but I spoke truth to power to them all the time. I remember walking into the bathroom, and you got a couple of guys on this smoking weed, and they throwing it in the toilet. And I said, dude, I'm not the police. I said, but if they come in here, you're gonna get banned forever. I said, I'm not telling you to not smoke weed, just don't do it here.
Exactly.
But I said, but you're on your own. You do what you got to do. And he said, okay, man. I ain't trying to disrespect they like that. I said, but don't let. I said, there's consequences. What I've tried to express to them, that there's consequences for everything that you do in life.
Mm-hmm.
And if it mean that much to you, fire up, and take your shot and stuff like that. Yeah. So you know how that is. You dealt with people, and but with the entertainment thing, and here in Chicago, there's so much history. We kind of missed the boat on the house music scene.
Yes.
I know everyone keeps on from the outside. They think they're gonna come to Chicago and hear some of the greatest house music at the clubs and stuff. It ain't here unless you're gonna and all the great, the good black DJs, especially the house DJs, like Alan and the rest of them. A lot of them relegated to playing these small little clubs on the South Side, and that's just not right.
No,
it's not right. They should be the featured DJs at every main club here in Chicago, But we're not New York, and we're still more people want to think we're cosmopolitan. We're some corn huskers and shit.
Yeah, compared to New York and London, definitely.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's sad, Mr. BITOY. I look back at the parties when BMX was on the air, when house music was the thing in Chicago. The parties you did, there were other promoters like Radical Just did parties out south sometimes. You had Lil Lewis and Diamond Core, And it really was cosmopolitan at that particular moment. For that little moment, you know, you had clubs like Janelle's, you had the Music Box, you had the what was it on the La Mirage, you had all these different venues,
But
and
they
it
would.
was,
But you got one thing they wouldn't let you in. You know, like the Excaliburs and the.
oh yeah,
See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm
mhm.
talking about the mainstream corporate
Oh
places.
yeah, they didn't want to do none of that.
They would have nothing to do. They would have nothing to do with minorities, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to this day, you know. But
And that's
uh,
really it is sad, man. You know, like I said, we had such an opportunity. We had all the music that was here that was homegrown. You had all these incredible producers and DJs, from the Hot Mix 5 guys to the guys on the street. There were just so many great DJs that were incredible. And after a while, you know, after the 88, 89, you know, it started getting real different in Chicago, you know, as far as what you could play, you know. And when I would go to New York to visit, when I go to the Red Zone, incredible. The Tunnel,
yeah,
incredible. You
incredible
know,
tunnel, great.
yeah. And you know, and even when I was in LA, I went to a club called the Arena Cafe. Incredible, you know, diverse club and people having a good time. And they're like, "Oh, you got something like stuff like this in Chicago?" Like, no, we don't. And it's really sad, you know.
No, they just don't. They didn't get it. Just when Mike, I mean, when even when Larry and them went over to Europe and stuff, and they were stars over there. You know, they were just my DJs over here. And but you can't get respect in your own house. You know,
Yeah,
you can't get respect in Chicago. And then there was a lot of infighting. I stay out of that. You know, the whole
yeah, there
house
was.
music.
I
I
saw.
started house music. I did this, and you know, I knew it. You all kids. They were all kids. They were all coming to Rainbow, being hired for the first time with me,
Mhm.
from Jesse Saunders to Marshall Jefferson to, I mean, everybody. Chip. I got, you
Mhm.
know, I had lunch with Chip the other, breakfast actually with Chip. You know, he brunch, whatever, mostly lunch. You know, 11:30 us lunch. Um, and we talked about the whole thing, and it was a different scene. It had the opportunity right then and there to do a scene here, but there was no place in Chicago for them to break out though, to do this show. There just wasn't. You know, they could go to a neighborhood event, or they could go to, or somebody was doing something at the Bismarck or something like that, and the production values weren't that great for
Mhm.
a lot of the other promoters and stuff, and it just wasn't New York. I
No.
saw what they were doing in New York. That's even when I brought back the battle, that DMC battle,
Mhm.
and that stuff here. I didn't learn from anything from Chicago. I went to New York. I was at the New Music Seminar, and I saw their DJ battles with the clocks and the DJs and stuff out there. And I said I could bring that to Chicago and do it right. And it
Mhm.
was real DJ battles. I mean, but I did the DMC battles for 2 or 3 years, but we had a disagreement with. They actually thought that those crowds were there because of DMC. And I said, oh, and then I said, because I paid a licensing fee to do it, and they kept
Mhm.
raising the licensing fee. And I said, dude, I'm bringing these people in here, packing up the Rainbow, and actually packed up the Riviera, and had MTV there, the whole thing. And I said, dude, I kind of made this stuff here. Then they
Yeah.
gave the USA finals, and it blew up. Then they wanted to do it again, but every time I get it, the licensing fees are doubling.
Mhm.
And I said, dude, if I wanted to do battles, I could just do battles. But
Right.
all the battles were constructed by me. I changed the rules. I had the celebrity judges. That one battle with Julian, Farley, Fast Eddie, Hitman. Uh, we just had everybody in there as judges. And I changed it from that, well, go into the back and let's figure out who won. I said, no, Olympic style. I want to see numbers.
Mhm.
Yeah, while they're DJing, because I don't want to hear no shit later on. Because everybody blames me that, oh, my guy should have won and it's my fault. Uh,
Mhm.
and because I learned my lesson doing a dance battle. I had Cletos, aka all of
Oh
those.
yeah, I remember
And
those two.
I had the judges come from Star Search. They want the winners of Star Search out of California,
Mhm.
and I had them judge it. what they, they did the thing, but they didn't do the Olympic. They just did, and they picked, I think, AKA dancers over the Calito, and then everybody was mad at me. It's fixed. And they said, we throw our trophy away. And I said, dude, I got nothing to do with that. I tried to make it as neutral as possible. So that's what you. And so with the Olympic style system, I'm telling anybody out here that's thinking about doing a battle, do the Olympic style system. Have the judges out there. If you're a promoter, you definitely want to do this because people can count. Okay, you got 66 judges. You got 57 points. 50. It's obvious who's winning. And if you get mad at anybody, you get mad at them judges and stuff. But that was actually a great battle when we did it like that. It was intense. It was really intense. And I put my battle up to anything that they did in New York. I said our battle was just as good, if not better, than what they did in New York. Now London, they had a full production at Windsor Hall. That was crazy. I'll give them that. The production out there, but you know how it was in over there. They were like, 20,000 people at the battle and stuff. So they were at a different level and everything. But I've done the 10,000 seaters. I've done all of that. So it just costs more, and that's what we might be doing with the not 10,000 seater, but the next venture. And I'm still debating it. Doing a freestyle with all the top of the line freestyle artists. I'm still debating doing that like a Rosemont theater type thing, but a seated thing, because this is I tell everybody's getting longer in the tooth. Seated, they are older. You could have Expose and Lisa and all these other groups and everything and put all A-listed groups in there. But we got to step away for that crowd, the 90s crowd. You got to kind of step away from the dance party.
Right.
A real concert. And that's the thing is that it's $100,000 show. So,
wow.
Yeah. Wow. That because the acts all think that they're worth more than they. So, but I'm still debating it. I got backers on it, but I'm still, I don't just take other people's money just to do some stuff. I want to see if they're ready for it. I think they're ready for it, but this is not no show where you're going to pay $20 to get in.
No, this is for real.
This is like, nosebleed seats are going to be $60, $70.
It makes sense, though.
Orchestra pit is going to be $150, $200, up front. That kind of stuff.
Well, the good thing, everybody's long in the tooth now, but everybody should be in careers, or at least got some money to pay to see something they want to see.
Exactly. So I'm trying to change the game. That's another thing. But like I said, I got a million stories. I know you can't do this in one show because
I bet to have you back. But I wanted to say thank you for one show that you did. I was more of a house guy. I played freestyle. I played like Cover Girls and Jose and stuff like that, and Sweet Sensation and TKA. Which when I went to New York, they loved it, that the TKA Sweet Sensation. But you have brought Sweet Sensation here, and like I said, because I was friends with Hitman and Ralphie and them, I come to the. I think you did it at the Rainbow or the Riv. I can't remember which one. Where you had
I did them at the Rain. I did them at the Riveria and China Club.
Okay, so I had to be the Riv where I saw Sweet Sensation. I think Mike was there, and I thank you because I got to meet the Sweet Sensation girls. I got to. It was especially one that was super fine at the time. Everybody, the one I don't know what her name was, brown skin girl. Oh yeah, I was in love.
She's married. I think she got a son that's 21 or something now.
Dang, man, don't make me feel old.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, they're very pretty girls, and actually the Betty is still out there doing it. She's got different backup singers and stuff, but I still friends online with the other girl Sheila and everything. But they're still out there and still doing a great show, but that's the reason that I want to put that real show together. But all AX. I'm not looking to do, one hit wonders and all that kind of stuff. I want to bring the best of the best, all on one stage for one night into the Chicago area and promote it as such and give it some respect uh, because everybody's doing these little clubs I was I talked to several of them and I understand they got to make their money. Somebody come in here and they're gonna pay them $4,000 or $5,000 and they come in and do 30-minute show and at a club, and some of the promoters don't get handful of people show up, but they still getting their money. So, but it really doesn't do anything for. I tell them it doesn't do anything for your genre, but they ain't trying to sell records no more. They trying to. They are paying bills and stuff. So it's. So I think they good for one shot. I wish I tried the house thing on that level, but I did that back in '89. That tour that we went to Philadelphia and New York, Little Louis and Tent City. It was a big tour.
How'd it go?
The whole thing. But the weird thing, it did the best in Atlanta. It did the best in Atlanta, and was it Detroit or was it Philadelphia? I was at the one in Philadelphia, and same at the same place where they did the Rocky movie. I remember it's at that Coliseum or whatever the hell it was, and because I emceed that one, but the Atlanta had the most people at it, and this was like '89, and they were ready for house. They still do house stuff down there in Atlanta. They supposed to have a decent house scene, from what I've been told. So
wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess New York still has the best house scene, I would suppose. And I see Masters at Work always doing things up there.
Yep. Louis
Vega and all them, you know. And I wanted to touch on something you said. When me and Mark had talked, me and Mark Imperial had talked last week, and we talked about, we were out here in the suburbs, and a lot of times the house conversations they don't talk about, us, Mike and Julian and Bill and, and Mark and all the people out here are really doing stuff. And we talked about the fact that, house, everybody wants. I don't know if you've seen the arguments on Facebook. I ain't gonna mention the names of the people constantly arguing about who created house, who made the first house.
I'm the king.
But in actuality, and you could tell me if we were looking at it wrong. It looked to me like it was an organic thing that a lot of people were involved in pushing. From you to promoting, for all the promoters that were promoting, from the people that at Gramophone Records and Imports Records.
Mark was on the show. Mark was actually on one of them early shows. I think I got a videotape of that.
Yeah.
I got to share that with you. But you know what? It was organic because I remember the thing. Everybody was going to import. They getting music at Imports and the Loop Records and stuff back then. And then when they started making records, from tracks and everything else. I always tell the story how when Marshall, around the same time that I did Marshall Jefferson, I did, that's when all of them were coming around. It was Jesse Saunders, Real Love and all that stuff. And I told them that when they did it, and I tell this story, I must have told this story 100 times, when Jesse Saunders showed up at Nitro, he had on lace gloves, a lace over his eyes and stuff. And he had this keyboard that looked like a guitar. And I said, oh, Prince, But see, and then when Jesse Saunders.
Okay. I think Benji told me the story. Benji, for those who told me this story.
And then Benji told you that one?
Yes, he did.
Yep. And when I had Marshall Jefferson, him and Curtis McLean, they had sequin jackets on, looking like the Temptation. And when they got up there, move your body, and they were doing the Temptation move. 1, 2, Temptation. and then I realized, I said this back in the mid '80s. I said, there's no template for this. People are doing what they know, what they see. There is no, well, I'm a house artist and this is the way you do a house show. They did what they knew. And that's what you were getting. And a lot of people back then, I think even Chip or was it Tyree? They would say, "Well, you can be, well, you should be my manager." I said, "No, I'm not trying to be nobody's manager." I knew that would be nothing but babysitting,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure stuff out. And I was doing my thing. I was making my money and doing whatever I did. I stayed in my lane.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw it, and then I kept telling them. That's when the freestyle started coming around. I had expose when the record Point of No Return before they got the commercial success.
Mm-hmm.
I got them when people were just the DJs were playing them,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next time they came around, they were super big and stuff. But I said the acts that I get out of New York, whether it was Roxanne Shante, whether it was anybody, they were better prepared than Chicago acts. Chicago, because it was like pulling teeth for me to get Chicago acts to do a sound check.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know that you should do a sound check. I said, you have to do this. You have to know what you're going to sound like. You got to know I don't know, what you're going to sound like on this stuff. And all of them were going through cold mics. They didn't know anything about digital delays and doing any of that stuff. These people in New York were ahead of the game because they had professional people helping them to put their shows together. And I kept telling them, I said, you guys got to go back to the drawing board. You guys got to go back. And that was another reason for the lack of commercial, in my opinion. That's just an opinion. That they didn't, you had to take it serious enough that they needed professional managers to tell them how to do a show and which shows to take, what not to do. And I guess there really wasn't that. It was too many new people in it. And I wasn't a manager. That's not what I did. I wasn't. I just knew what I wanted as a promoter.
Right.
Yeah. And I didn't want to step away from what I did I did in the 90s. I did try to manage Fast Eddie, and I did that for only like 1 year. They had the High Voltage record, the song "Pump It." I actually own that one.
Okay. Pump it, pump it, pump it.
Yeah.
Let's cut.
And so when I went to and it was babysitting, and I know I'm paying for studio time. I remember going up there. Matt Warren was a studio guy, and I go in there, and everybody in there smoking weed and hanging out, and I'm looking at this. I'm always looking at stuff as a business.
Exactly.
And I'm paying for this shit for an hour. And I said, well, how far are you done? He said, and Matt just looked at me, they in there laughing and giggling and everything. And I remember going in there, I said, whatever's done by the end of tonight, that's the record. That's enough. I'm getting this shit out of my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went, they got it finished, and he had given the record to a couple of the DJs, and then next thing I know, it was out there people were putting it in their hot mix CD. I ain't gonna mention no name. They put it in because I raised hell and got a restraining order, got everything on the shelf. They put the song on a mix CD, and they said, well, I'm helping you promote it. I said, I don't need that kind of help. No, if he would have did it in the middle of there and played, a snippet or a pump it in there,
right,
going out. This person, not to be named, put the whole song, part one, at the beginning of the mix, played the whole song all the way through, and at the end of the mix, played the end of the song all the way through.
Oh wow!
And I had the lawyer send out a restraining order to all of those places, cease and desist, take everything off the shelf. I went to the store. I went to Hot Jams and took all this shit and threw it in the garbage. And then I went to Milwaukee. I drove to Milwaukee and did that because I haven't even had it on wax yet. Then me and Eddie rented a U-Haul truck, drove 12 hours to New York to the pressing plant. We picked up the record. They were still hot in the box. They were still packing them. Had lunch, turned around, and drove all the way back to Chicago. 24 hours, slept for 2 hours, then delivered it. Got up, slept for like 2 or 3 hours, got up, and delivered to each and every store. That, but I said, man, this is way too much work. I
Mm,
said, when I do a party, I make my money, bam, and then I was chasing distributors, trying to get my money back. You
mm-hmm.
know, sending them product. Well, you got any more product? I said, no. Well, somebody paid me for the last one,
Right.
and then the final straw was I went to France. I went to meet them, and I saw all the lawyers out there, and I said, the only person making money on here crooks, the lawyers and stuff. These artists, they signing these deals and these licensing deals, and they're not making any money. They're getting tubes and views while these people have nothing to do with the music are getting rich. I said, this is corrupt. And I said, I'm out. And I went back. I said, I didn't do what I do. And
Mm-hmm.
then one time I stepped away from promotion and I stepped right back. I said, dude, not my world. So, uh,
Yeah, the record business. The thing New York had over us, they had a lot of record industry professionals in
yep.
New York, and they were able to guide those artists a little bit better. And
They
they
had
kept
press,
them.
and they had pressing plants out there when they were doing vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was getting their stuff pressed here with Larry Sherman, and he, one for you and two for me and stuff. You know,
Yeah, not getting impressed with this makers.
they were pressing your record and selling them out of trunks of cars. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
man, this is
It
ugly.
was cutthroat. It was bad for those guys, man. You
Yep.
know, the guys making stuff. We did a label. I think it was like 91 to 92. We
Mhm.
drove to Philly, picked up everything from disc makers, came
Mhm.
back. And that's why I learned some. I learned some expensive lessons. All right,
Mhm.
one, I was sending boxes of records over to the United Kingdom and Germany. You know how much that costs. I didn't know that I was supposed to license it to somebody over there and all that stuff. But you know,
Well,
you
they
find
were
out
playing your record and like you had people licensing your stuff.
all over
And,
the place.
yeah, yeah, no, it was ridiculous, and so that's another. Like you say, I got it's so many stories and so many the history of house music, the history of just club industry. But
Mhm.
like I said, when I made the decision when I went into Nitro in '97, I said this is not going to be talent based. This is going to be music based, and we just going to do parties and themes and everything else. And you see, even after being closed 13 years, did this sold out, and it was about the music. And the feedback that I've gotten from that Nitro reunion has been 100% positive. I've never had somewhere I don't have one hater out there, talking about. And it's been 100% positive, and we had that many people and no incidents, nothing like it was because it wasn't that vibe. That wasn't the vibe there. People
No.
came in there to have a good time, to listen to music, to meet people. They were meeting people. It was one of the magical moments that as a promoter you hope for. That everybody's on. They're just there to have fun, and you wish that every party that you did was like that. So and I was lucky that we sold that many tickets in advance that I didn't have a ton of people, even though the line got ridiculous.
I can
The line,
imagine.
yeah, I heard it got, I didn't even know.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I saw it. I was like, wow. And
Yeah.
this was I left at midnight, and
Uh,
the line was ridiculous.
yeah.
I'm like, well, they're packed out. What are they gonna do?
And no, it was, but to see, this was all people that had tickets. The
Wow.
only reason the line went that long, and it was technology. It was the fact that urban crowd, because even when we first went to the first games this year and last year at the Cubs, now at MLB everything's digital. You don't
Mhm.
get tickets, anymore. Even if you got season tickets, you go put an app on your phone and they do that. And Eventbrite has the app, or you pull up your email and they have a link on that email, and you pull up your bar, stretch it out, get your barcode. But these people didn't know, they weren't that computer literate or ticket literate, buying tickets and doing digital tickets. And so if we could have just scanned people and got them in, it would have been easier. But we had to get the people. All right, and we tell them to have your link ready. Wait, what do you mean? And get your email. And that was all. It was a conversation just getting that done.
Mhm.
Second time, when we do this again, it'll go a lot faster. Because even when I was at the baseball game, the first time it was like a backed up because people
Oh
were
yeah.
like They didn't know. And I said, dude, this is going to be a nightmare. And because you had to explain stuff. But, that's the kind of thing with an app, just like getting on a plane now. You don't get a board pass, you take it on your phone.
Right.
And everybody knows that now. And I think if we do it again, and I knock on wood, I think it's going to sell out totally in advance.
I believe so, because with the digital technology, at least you're lucky they were able to get a cellular signal. When I was working off duty at Soldier Field, when they went that route, nobody could get a signal. It was ridiculous.
They didn't have enough towers, and
oh my God, people were mad, and people are using their hotspots to try to let people connect on to keep the crowd from going up. They worked it out, but I guess they realized, hey, we need to put some towers or something around here.
They had to actually put towers around the stadium.
Yeah.
You have to, because if you got a concentration of 60,000 people, you have to, and all of them have cell phones.
Exactly.
You had to have capacity for that. And because even over there, it was spotty. It gets a little rough, but anytime you got a concentration of 1,400 people type thing, it's going to be like that. Because that's all those people on the same tower. Working off the same towers in that area and stuff. Wow.
So, I'm going to tell you, when I went to Mr. Bitoy's party, when I went to the Nitro reunion, I came in with Mike, and it was like a flashback, man. Going back and being on stage with Mike and the DJs and looking at the crowd as it built up. And then, of course, Mr. Bitoy is Mr. Bitoy no matter what. The first thing he asked when I come in, he's like, how's it sound? What's up with the sound guy? Because I know you like your sound. Everywhere I've ever been, you make sure your sound is a certain way. It's got to be peak. And
that's what I keep telling people. Your job is not over. As a promoter, you got their money. Now this is the hard work. Is you have to. Those people that come to your party are your advertisement. They're your best advertisement and they're your worst advertisement. If they had a good time, especially in this digital day and age, because I got the videos, I posted them that people send me, and either they're gonna tell you that it was the greatest time of their life, or they're gonna call you out. And you can't. I remember back in the day, every phone to tell you this. You get to the party and this little light and stuff. Oh man, you should have been here an hour ago. It was packed, and I said, "Oh, everybody left before I got here." That kind of stuff. You can't. There's no lies no more.
No more.
That shit no more. You got to bring it. And I already knew we had the crowd because, like I said, I had the advanced tickets. We sold 500 tickets online the day of.
Damn.
They were just nothing. I tried to give them an incentive to buy early. That didn't matter. Everybody just waited till the week of, and then I sold more tickets in one day than I did 1 month. That's how they do. And then it just in the week of, I sold. I would say a week before we only had 300 tickets sold, which was good. I knew that was good because I said, man, we're just gonna have a big walk up. I don't want this walk up. And then it started going crazy 5 days before the event. And then we sold 300 more. Like we sold what we did the whole promotion before that in 3 days, right? Then we sold 500 the day of. So you got 5. You're doing like this. And I said, this is going crazy. And then, and then you still got people walking up. And I said, oh, this, it's like nuts. Because I said, but I was happy when we had 700 before the day before we opened up. I said, well, I know it's going to be a good party, and I was in the black. I'm cool. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good party. That was my concern. Then all of a sudden the day of, because I get these the emails that double up, and all of the, and I kept getting my phone alert, which killing my batteries and stuff like that. And ring, and it sales. And that's when I told the guy I had to call him up, the manager, and he was trying to find extra bartenders and because he was kind of putting, he was thinking more of a 700 type crowd, 800 people, and then we stormed past that, and But I'm thinking next time the people will. I might have to extend open up an hour earlier or something, and uh, that's the only thing I can really do because once you reach capacity. But you are right, and I tell them that the sound, the experience, the digital stuff, the video walls, because even
Mm-hmm.
my guy, all the Nitro logos and stuff, because you know how graphic guys and printing guys are always slow. I got the email for those Nitro graphics that you saw on the wall
Mm-hmm.
1 hour before the doors open. After that, they got have this stuff ready for a month, and I got it then. But they were up, and then, it looked like everything was like perfect. But you like I said, it ended up being perfect. But we were managing on the fly, and
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with the DJs because Mike had never met Metro or Kid Scratch before that day.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him, don't worry. I said these guys when Mike went to Florida,
Mm-hmm.
these were the guys that I finally found to replace them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I had to go through DJs to get them, and both of them excellent. They are great. Not only are they good people, but they can hold the crowd,
Oh yeah.
and they know what they're doing. And people just say, well, the weird thing is the only brother was Mike because the other guys are Latin. But they got soul.
Right.
You got soul. You got soul.
Well, I
And
noticed even with you with DJs, man, you black DJs, white DJs, Latino DJs, you get DJs, period.
yeah,
And
that's
then you get good DJs. You
That's
know,
what I. That's more important than anything.
mm-hmm.
And but people don't realize I did not use a ton of DJ, and I never believed in that 10, 12 DJ stuff. I just
Yeah.
did. I said that's terrible programming. I said that's the battle of the DJs.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that is. And nobody's listening to what the other guy played. There's no continuity. You doing a club is like programming a radio station. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. Mike knows it. Mike, he knows that I am fanatic about not hearing the same record twice in a night.
I understand.
I said no, unless it was played at 9 something. We opened at 9, and then you playing it at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's
Right.
different.
Mm-hmm.
You got clubs where the hit record is every hour on the hour. It's
I
like,
know.
it's like top 40 radio or something, and that's not how you juice the crowd.
No.
And you play the main hits at the main time, and if they missed it, they missed it. They got to come back next week. And
Exactly.
they knew how we did it. We did the contest. We did the intermediate set before.
Mm-hmm.
At the prime time, we did the contest. Whether that be midnight, we go earlier if it was a holiday week because it's so crowded. And then after that, Mike would come on. He'd be the featured DJ, and that's when we ready to hit it. It's getting ready to go. And we did the same thing It was the same thing at the Riviera.
Oh, I know.
When he played Recent Company and all of that stuff, when the lights come down over the dance floor and everything else.
That was a historic moment. I'm going to talk about that real quick. Everybody remembers the moment when he played Rock to the Beat at the Riv.
Yep.
I was there. Everybody seemed like everybody was there that night.
Yeah,
Lights down.
we were trying to get them to let us cut off the exit. They wouldn't let us cut the exit lights off. We wanted to cut blackout.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to do a total blackout, but they can't cut the exit lights off. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we were like, but it was a production because the lights that I brought in there, I bought all of that, the lights and sound, even back then. This is 94, and I spent $100,000 on that then. But and I was only doing one night. But we had the power motors, and the lights would come down over the dance floor. It would come down out the ceiling, and when he put a rock to the beat, and then things would start lowered over the dance floor, and then the lights going crazy. We were doing that EDM type production in the 90s.
Yeah, that was
before it was, yeah. And then we had all those MT4s, the EVs, the bass cabinets,
mm-hmm.
and we had 16 of them. And they were, boom, you get on the dance floor.
Yeah.
That's what I got from the Roxy. Because I said, what kind of sound system? And I found out that there were MT4s. MT4s were the same bass cabinets used by Nine Inch Nails and Prince. even to the end of it. They were still, now they had went to XLRs and all these other speakers, but those guys kept. Prince had a specific sound that he liked, and Nine Inch Nails had a specific sound. Specific. It's the case, it's the cabinet, it's everything, and they got that foot. The first time I heard it was at the Roxy, and they were like boom, and it just take you. If you were in front of the bass cabinet, it sucked the air out of you. You couldn't hardly breathe, and that's what I like. I like to have people's hair just in the body, and that's what you want. You want that experience. They go back and what I told them, they said, why do you go to that expense to go to do all of that? And I said, because you just raised the bar. Now they go, and you can't stop them from going to see other clubs and doing other things. What you can do is give them an experience that the other club can't match, and that's a winner. It's not a secret. I'm saying it right now. You just got to be better than you have to. Your production, everything has to be better than everybody else's, and that's you win. You win by doing. You can't fake it. You can fake it if you want to, but you win by doing and everything. So, but that's about it. Well, you go on forever.
Yeah, and you had mentioned real quick. You went to the Roxy. Obviously, those of us who saw Beat Street and some of us that visited New York and seen the Roxy has not been in it. That's just history. I didn't even know that you had went to the Roxy and you saw what they did, and I always made the correlation between that and the Rainbow. When I would go to New York as a kid.
I didn't know that I was out there. Everybody steals. I was
but that makes sense. And you brought that energy to Chicago, and we had our own thing. Now you did bring
look at Beat Street. I don't want me to interrupt you, but look at the movie Beat Street. If you look at him DJ, there's one scene, and you look up, there's some glitter roller skates in the sky. And when he's in the DJ booth in the middle, he's in the middle of the dance floor, and you can see the skates. They were glitter balls, but they were roller skates in the shape of roller skates and stuff. So, but it was a roller skating rink.
Now, you brought the New York City Breakers to Chicago, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Crazy.
Because I was in junior high. I heard about it on radio. I couldn't go.
It was unreal. What happened was we brought them in, got a bus. All these guys were in a movie, but they weren't movie stars. They were kids and stuff. And you tell them you can get them here, you can get them paid $200 or $300 each, and that's all they really wanted. But they were kids. Now you take a busload of kids, and we had to get a couple of them out of jail in Indiana because they went to like a hardware store, was stealing spray paint.
Oh my God!
I said, oh, but Jesus, you got kids. They were kids and stuff. But boy, they came out there. I brought them in the side door. Every breakdancing team in the city must have been there. They were. I said, boy, but see, that's when you should keep a finger on the pulse of what people want. And we can have a break. Everybody was doing breakdancing parties, breakdancing battle. And I said, well, here, take it to the next level. I'm gonna bring you I'll bring you New York City Breakers, and that another thing. You just give them that, and it was no correlation. There was no coordination on what you're gonna do. I just had them came in. When they came in, they barricaded off where they come in the side door, and they were dancing, and they were DJ put on music, turn, just playing the music, and they come in, they were just dancing, and man, these kids were they were going crazy, jumping around, seeing them, and then and a couple other guys in Chicago tried to battle them, but
they weren't ready.
Well, even when Jazzy J was up there, and I know my, Farley and the rest of them gonna say, "Oh man, we tore it up," but they were Jazzy. He was light years ahead of them in scratching.
And New York that was their thing. We blended records. They were the ones that got down.
Oh man, they come in there and he was making the record sing and stuff like that, and people were going crazy. And this was a time when wiki. That was the scratching from Chicago.
That's where we were at. Yeah.
It was but I did 12 DJ setup, 3 stages.
Mm-hmm.
One stage on top, I had Farley on a pyramid.
Oh wow.
Two DJ setups here, 4, so 6 DJ setups in a pyramid, 12 sets of 12 turntables.
Wow.
And set up in a pyramid. Now it was shaky when you got to the top because we couldn't get it that stable. But I had a ramp, and remember I had a DJ play Farley when he walked up to the top of the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was standing up there with Farley at the top over the crowd. It was just a sea of people, just 4,200 people or something that we had that night. And he goes, man, he said, and Farley goes, this is like DJ heaven and stuff. And he took the turntables, he put it on top of his head, and was going, work it.
Yeah.
He just making noise, but it was like, what the showmanship of putting it on your head didn't matter that it just sounded like shit, but it wasn't like that. And I remember the next time I brought a different DJ, I brought Cutmaster DC, and then I had Aladdin and the rest of them, and it just got more intense. Because Cutmaster was DJing with a basketball.
I heard about that.
And Aladdin was just unreal.
I heard it was.
I remember Bill said, "Where did you get this guy from?" And I said, "L.A." Actually, Ice-T and them was the one that told me about Aladdin.
Wow.
Bad young cat, and he was fierce. Woo! And I said, man. And then we had that famous, the one at the Rio where Aladdin was in it, and he ended up winning it. But Bill was in it, and that's probably the last battle that Bill was in. That's the one where he had the fake dildo.
Yeah, I was there for that when Bill put out that scratch.
Yeah, no, that was probably the most creative. Everything was bigger than life. All of that stuff was bigger than life. Everybody knew that they had to bring it, and we, but it was Qbert was on that show from California, and it was a lot of future star DJs and everything else. So it was that was another historic night.
Well, you had so many historic. I mean, so many different events were so historic. The artists that you brought out, the productions themselves, the things that happened, the DJs and Chicago people still talk about. When this happened there, when this song was played, when I first heard this, when I first saw, the Hot Mix 5, I was at the Rainbo, as a kid seeing like, oh my God, this is the Hot Mix 5.
Remember the Hot Mix 5? I bought, I think it was $800 for radio. What people didn't realize, nobody had ever seen the Hot Mix 5.
That's when I realized Mickey Oliver was white. Jason was white. Yeah,
this is what the funny thing was, every black person thought the Hot Mix 5 were all black because
except for Ralphie.
Except for Ralphie. We knew that Ralphie Rosario, you could tell, and in the music he was playing. But they figured Kenny Jason was more from the disco DAI thing, so he was playing his music it had soul, And Farley, you knew Farley was black and stuff because he played, what Farley played. But Mickey Oliver and Kenny Jason and even Scott Seals, the same thing. They had soul, and so when the brothers saw them, they were like, they were sitting there looking back like, They said I did not know they were white and stuff like that. I said, does it matter? He said, no. He said, I just didn't know they were white.
That shocked me, man.
Yep. Yeah. So, but I remember I booked them and it was, and then when I think Lee Michaels told him, man, you guys got to start doing your own parties because this, that kid's making all the money and they were. I said no, but hey, I'll just do just a finger on the pulse. That's all it is. You figure out what they want, and it changes. Everything. The more things change, the more they remain the same. It's not different. I could do a teen party right now, and I could do a teen. Club. I told the guys that if they wanted to invest the money into it, I could put together one right now, and it would still work.
They need one, actually.
Well, no, they need an outlet for it.
Yeah.
There's no, but everybody hates teenagers, man. And it's unfortunate, but it's been like that since the 80s. Everybody, wherever you go, they don't want you to put the club here and not in my neighborhood, and it's the old.
But a lot of stuff you did was teens. Like I said, we all went and hung out, and we didn't have any problems. I mean, I guess because people
But
respect.
perception is reality. They just when you don't go and you don't know, you assume. And so everybody assumed, oh, it's just going to be rough houses, and this is the gangs, and this is going to be. I said, no, it's not even like that. Nitro got that reputation. They said, oh man, it's just you're gonna get jumped and you're gonna do it. I said, dude, that ain't what we're about. But if it's not for you, don't go.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And even when we had to open up Energy on Thursday night, when we did that, because we couldn't, I just knew we had to separate the music, because we were struggling trying to. The EDM thing was coming along, and brothers hated it,
Mm-hmm.
and the white kids liked it, but they still love the urban stuff that we were doing on Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
But brothers are aggressive, especially
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to on the females. Like sisters can handle a brother.
Mm-hmm.
Brother you go to grab a sister's butt and they gonna be like, oh, we gonna they stuff to knock them out and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they were too aggressive for the young white girls and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew they were, because the difference is you have a teenage white boy at a party, and these beautiful girls are walking around, and they were real skimpy outfits and stuff like that, and they're glow sticks and dancing and goofy. But that same girl walks through a Nitro crowd with her brothers, and it'd be like, woo, thirsty. But that's just it's a different culture.
It is culture.
They don't understand it. They're not, it's not like, oh, we're gonna grab you and take you and do this and stuff to you. But we want to juke and do all this other kind of stuff. But it's not. If you don't understand it, it's gonna scare you.
Right.
It's more aggressive crowd. I said, just have to separate it. And it worked. It worked when you separate it. We didn't do the same numbers as, but Nitro always did the numbers. Nitro, and the people that could handle a black crowd, they showed up. And I never made an apology for that. I said, dude, their money is as good as better, good as anybody else, and so I don't. I never felt the need to apologize for having a black crowd.
I didn't know that Nitro, because the Nitro is a little bit after my time. I was older. I've been in the military. Was working.
We opened in '97. Actually, we actually opened up. We were all white.
Wow.
Because I couldn't get on B96 because they were all sold out. So the first month I had to advertise on Q101.
Mm-hmm.
And I advertised, and it was, I think we had 700 kids 2-3 weeks in a row. The first week I got on B96, that number jumped to 2,000.
Wow.
That's when we got Latin, but we were Latin, white, and black.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow. Well, I know which way to, I don't, I wasn't like a downtown club. I got to keep this club. I got to keep this party white. It mattered to me. I'm looking at numbers and the people having a good time. So, the crowd changed over the years. But like I said, I don't have to apologize for that. That's just, and other people, I got people that went to the 97, my 97, 98, 99 crowd. Oh man, it changed. And, I stopped going in '99 because it changed. And if it wasn't for them, it wasn't for them.
Right.
I can't please everybody. I never tried to.
No, I think though, when we look at it, like when we get into the '90s and stuff, music has changed a lot in Chicago at that time. I think that back in the '80s when we would party, that obviously because of the Hot Mix 5 and WBMX and all the Italo disco they played and the regular house. I think that's what kept the crowds mixed, because people liked all the music that was being played. And I think everybody was kind of in the same vibe. You know what I'm saying? It started shifting when freestyle started dominating, kind of.
And not only freestyle, at the same time, you recall that the south side of Chicago were going deep house.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said when the north side was not, was me, I was playing more commercial house. I was bringing in Colonel Abrams. I was doing that kind of stuff. and they were, we're deep house and we're just, that had as much to blame, and I
Right.
blame,
Mm-hmm.
because you were separating yourselves and stuff, and you were being like a jazz purist. Oh, that's
Yeah,
not how.
exactly.
You
That's how
know,
I explain
I do. I don't know. I remember they used to argue with me, telling me, "Well, we went to Mendo and they had 2,000 people." I said, "Mendo charged $2 to get in.
it. Mm-hmm.
I was $7. I had 800 people, 1,000 people. I made $7,000, $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2,000 people and they made $4,000, and they had 2,000 people headaches and stuff."
Wow.
I said they cheapened the party,
Right.
you know, and I don't. I that's one thing I never did. I don't believe. I never tried to cheapen the party, discount this, and then if you got to beg people to come to your party, then don't do them.
Wow.
Do them at home.
Right.
If they don't, if you devalue your party, then it has no value. You're already telling people this ain't worth shit. It's free. You're free because it's not worth anything.
Wow.
So I never believed in that.
Man, you probably
It was $40 at the door for the reunion.
damn.
And they
And
didn't
it
blink.
backs down. Well, you know what? You bring up a good point because, like I said, when I was talking to Mark, us out here, the black guys and Latino guys and the Asian guys and white guys, we all played the same stuff because we always play for a suburban crowd. We play for everybody. When I would go to the city out south, to Sawyer's or something like that, the DJs were, when I would play, they were like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "People don't like it, man." I would play MBO theme or I play Love and Music or something, and they look at me crazy. I said, "Look, you guys act like y'all was at the warehouse. All y'all my age. My mom was at the warehouse with Frankie Mix. I wasn't there." I said, "Y'all wasn't there. Y'all in this whole deep, let's keep it deep, playing, disco all the time. There was so much music out there."
They took themselves out of the game.
Yeah, they did.
Last story, because I want to run. We can do this another day. Finish it another day. But people, I always tell the same story that I begged Ron Hardy. I went to his house, and me and Larry Thompson, I said, "Dude, come and play the Rainbow." He said, "That's not my crowd." I said, it can be your crowd if you just let me dictate to them. Let me show them. You got to have exposure to that crowd." But he could tell he was already getting sick then. He was real thin. And the other thing, I had Frankie Knuckles at Navy Pier. I had the Cover Girls on stage, TKA, all of that stuff, packed, right? Frankie Knuckles was supposed to DJ. And I'm backstage with him. He said, "Man, this ain't my crowd." I said, "Frankie, if I tell them you are the shit, you will be the shit." I said, you gotta play this crowd," because he would play the gay clubs on the north side, but he wouldn't play like this. He said, "No, this ain't my crowd." I said, "Come on, man. Don't worry about it." He's okay. I go back, after I think the Cover Girls had finished their show, or one of them had finished the show, to go get Frankie. And I said, "Frankie's up next." He said, he left.
Damn.
Left without getting paid.
Damn.
Just left. And I mean, I wasn't disrespecting Frankie. I still held him in high regards. But you have to play them. You have to play these crowds. I'm telling you, I could have hyped him up so he could have played. He could have played London Bridge is Falling Down, and they would have been like, "Hey, that's a shit," like that. And see, that's what I do. And you let me do what I do, and you do what you do, and I could make it where I could bring you back, every 6 months, Frankie Knuckles and stuff like that. And I was disappointed because I wanted to experience that. I wanted to show them this. And I mean, Frankie didn't need me. He had his own crowd and stuff like that. But I really wanted to break up that, it's only this deep house and this is another house, and I wanted to expose them to it. And I knew how he played it. They would have accepted because they just love to dance.
Right.
That's all they wanted to do was dance. And music is universal. You know that.
Yeah.
Music is not like, oh, it's only people, you can only this music. That everything has a value. Every genre of music, there's somebody that loves it and stuff. And I just thought that I was disappointed at that.
I can imagine.
but it would have been historic.
Yeah,
It was it was a historic building,
Mm-hmm.
and but I like to do that. I like to bring those cultures together, and it was the same thing that when I did the China Club, I liked it. The same thing I told you before we went on the air here, that I like the mixing up of having a rock in this room, hip hop in that room, dance in this room. Let's go,
Yeah.
and and it works. It works if you let it work.
Mm-hmm.
And people love music. Like what was it? Dick Carcass got a good beat and you can dance to it.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't changed. That
No.
was in the 50s. Ain't nothing changed. And the more things change, the more they remain the same. And I truly believe that. And I could do, from the cradle to the grave, it's all the same. It's all the same.
Well, Miss BITOY, I know you got things to do.
Yep.
I appreciate you coming on. I would like to have you on again because there's a lot of other stuff I want to ask you about, but we just got to talking. I did want to kind of.
I start rattling off and.
Yeah, and I did want to pick your brain a little bit about. I know every now and then on Facebook we'll talk a little social political stuff. So,
yeah, don't get me started on that because everybody get mad at me. But
yeah. But I just wanted to touch base with a few things, but more importantly, to talk more about the legendary stuff you did. Like I said, we just hit the tip of the iceberg. I'm getting chat messages to ask about this party and that party, or New York versus Chicago party. We get to talk about that. Really, we talked about how you had the guys there, but what was behind it and everything, because that was we was all, yeah, we're gonna battle New York, and Farley's gonna do this.
You know what? It wasn't technically a battle. It was an exhibition. It wasn't like, we got a winner. And even when they got here, it was funny because I brought those guys out to I think it was the imports or one of them. They were like out there. They said, "Oh, you guys gonna be in the battle?" And I remember Jazzy J said, "What battle? Who's battling?" I said, "No, they looking at it like it's a battle." He wasn't, he didn't care. He said, "Well, you know what he was gonna do?" I said, "It's not no winners and stuff." He said, "No," he said, "We're gonna do what we're gonna do." Yeah, and they did. Everybody was ad-libbing. They were just doing their thing on stage, and stage presence. New York had it. They didn't shy away from stage presence, and Chicago was just getting into it. So it really wouldn't have been fair if it was a battle.
Right?
But they tore some shit up because they were oohing and eyeing, and they didn't know, and trying to. All the young DJs were rammed up on the stage trying to see what record that was, and as far as how he was scratching it, and where did he get the record to get those scratches from and stuff. But it was fun. It was fun.
Like I said, the New York dudes were always incredible scratchers and cutting in records. We learned from the whole disco DAI, from the Hot Mix 5. We all blended records. That was our strength, blending.
Yeah, no. And I told her, if there ever was going to be a club DJ battle, it's harder to do a club battle because you got to have good blends, but you can lose the attention of the crowd too. Because that's why the mix show fast, the trick battles work, because it's the attention span of the crowd. And it works if they doing like DMC was doing them battles at Guitar Center, 200 people, 100, whatever it was. That's not a battle. But me, I got you in front of 2,000 people. You got to bring a show.
You better bring the show. Yeah.
So that was different. So, but then you notice after they left me, or after I left them, correct. Next thing you know, they doing the battle in Guitar Center. I said, you didn't force me out. You just
priced themselves out.
They priced themselves out. I said, "Hey, dude, I'm in this business to make money. I don't do this. This is a business.
But they're getting greedy.
Yep. Every year.
One last question: what was the biggest difference that you saw, if any, between the crowd at the Rainbow and the crowd at the Roxy, or New York crowd, Chicago crowd, as far as how they were with the music and responding to different things?
Meaning, the different years?
Yeah, well, no, the difference, like when you went to the Roxy and you went to the Rainbow, they're both teen clubs, basically, right? With teen events. Were they similar in energy, or was
they were very similar. They were just a little bit more production wise. They were advanced. They were advanced even for me because they had better sound than I had. I mean, I used to have Frenchie come out there and augment the sound, but I couldn't match up to what they were doing in New York. They had better lighting, and the dancers were a little bit. They were a few years ahead of us. So I had to, I did the best I could to do an imitation of them. But I had restrictions, and and they were more of a club than a skating rink. They had club nights, and they had all. And I was on the only time that they weren't a skating rink was the hours that I was there. So it was. I had different restrictions that I had to deal with, and that's why when I left them, and went to the Riviera, because I needed to be in a full production club. I wanted to get into a club atmosphere, a club environment, instead of a converted skating rink. Their converted skating rink did feel like a club. I still like mine felt more like a skating rink that I was doing a dance party in.
I understand.
So that was the only difference, And I had to bring in staging, and they had the stuff built into the. They were better prepared for stuff, So.
All right.
Yeah, but the biggest difference.
All right, well, Mr. BITOY, well, we hope to have you back on again soon. Thank you again for giving us the time. These people are very happy about the stuff they heard, man. I've been waiting to talk to you for a while. And again, this History of House network, what we're doing is just getting different voices from different aspects of Chicago to get a real complete story of what actually went on that made house music. It wasn't this one guy.
Next time we'll just do it if we'll just have if you wanted to talk about the house thing or whatever, we'll just kind of plan it out, because otherwise
it gets good.
Over 30 something years.
I know.
I got 35, 36 years doing this thing.
Wow.
So it's so many stories, so many. And when I sat down with Hitman, I told him, I said, man, when I started thinking about it, I said, this is unreal, the amount of, from the Tupac stories to the Run DMC stories to, it's just a lot of stories. There's a lot of backstories that nobody even knows about.
Yeah, and that's a lot of stuff. I know you, Ice Cube and Prince. People want to hear about this stuff.
Prince, Naughty by Nature. We did all of the hip hop groups. Tribe Called Quest. House of Pain. Cypress Hill,
wow,
and on the Far Side, Funk Dubious, everything. I mean, just
wow,
on and on and on, and even the disco stuff. Village People. What's the name? Casey and the Sunshine Band. Casey's scared to go on stage. He said, they're gonna hate my fat ass. And I said, dude, I was standing there next to him. This is Casey. This is 1992. Now he was 77. He was probably about 80 pounds heavier and balding and stuff like that. I said, dude, they're gonna look at you. All they're gonna see is KC 1977. When you start singing, they're gonna go crazy. And he said, you think so? Because I got these people when nobody was hiring them. That's because I did a whole series on because I got the Village People for $5,000.
Wow.
Next year after that, they were making $100,000 a show.
Wow.
And I told him, this will work. I'm telling you it's going. And he went out there, and they were screaming and hollering, and he had a big old shitting grin on his face. Same thing, Young MC was scared to go on stage.
Really?
Yeah, he said, oh, they're not going to like me. Because it was after their time. And I said, dude, your music, you understand, music is timeless. Music,
yes,
it's a memory. They care about that. That's what they care about. And it was funny to see people nervous that I knew that I had their records and stuff like that. Tupac wasn't nervous. His manager was slow, and he was like, he was eager to get on stage and that kind of stuff. But he was like, come on, trying to count the money. Manager slow. He said, man, it's all there. I said, yes, it's there. It's $100 bills, and stuff like that. And he said, man, fuck that. It's there. Let's go. I'm ready. He was ready to go. And he didn't care about the money. Managers spoke out. But it was all those stories, all of those things. The backstories are more fun than it's a whole lot of backstories and stuff.
Well, we'll plot that one out. We'll definitely talk about all that stuff, man, because people want to hear about it. Thank you.
One last thing, I gotta say this.
Mhm.
Chuck Berry. I told the greatest story alive.
Okay.
Did Chuck Berry? Yep, we did Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry at the China Club, because we did rock, we did it, and so when I was in the room, now the rock promoter wanted to hire him, so I was there, but I just wanted to meet Chuck Berry, you know.
Mhm.
And so he went in there. He showed up by himself. He didn't have no road man. He drove up in his Cadillac, parked in the back, and he took his money cash only. He didn't do he didn't have to do sound checks and he just did a lot, you know. They just, as long as he showed up before the show, took his $20,000, put it in his boot, went on stage. I'm ready, and went out there and did his thing, finished his show, packed his guitar up, and drove off. That's how that was Chuck Berry.
That's
he
perfect.
was, and he didn't want to deal with the IRS stuff. Cash only, $20,000. Put it right in his cowboy. We had cowboy boots on.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but man, Chuck Berry. That's weird. But okay. But anyway, man.
All right.
We'll arrange something in a month or so.
All right. I appreciate it, Tony.
Okay.
And everybody, thanks again for watching, subscribing. Please subscribe, and we'll just keep on telling these stories and getting people on. Mr. BITOY, thank you again for coming on. Look forward to talk to you. Like I said, we'll set up something for next month. God bless. Everybody be safe, and talk to you all soon. Peace.
Okay. Bye.